I don't know. I haven't investigated the Catholic Church, although I do know that Greg Carl came from Pittsburgh Catholic, and Vince Irene calls himself a Catholic worker. I'm not overwhelmingly surprised that there are stories of pedophilia come out of the church about them. Since the script clarifies that Didi Mancini was the criminal who waylaid me in a scripted plan organized by violent gangsters who tortured me. It's revealing, and not that surprising, that she has never been evoked except as compromat, which clarifies the likelihood that Russia, as corroborated by the library card I found here, and religion of the Soviet Union, probably was party to the whole thing. The AIDS attack, after all, was some sort of moral majority maneuver from the world's fundamentalist tripartite system. And you can see even the wad makers were involved. The wad makers told me that a curtain rod had gone through Willie's cheek. Well, that didn't happen. There was no scar. But it obviously meant something about curtain rods. You see, I went to Fulton Elementary, and there was a Fulton mini theater, which was pornography downtown. I was one of the minis. When I was kidnapped, I had cried at the office I was going to be killed. And they probably were in on the business with Dee Dee, so they had compromat. They didn't have to go looking for me because they had compromat. And the curtain rods, of course, Oswald was said to have taken curtain rods to take the school book deposits away. And the curtains are the curtains behind the green door, the carousel club. If you look at the use of Marilyn Monroe, you find in pornography there was something called Marilyn chambers, which is like gas chambers. So the syncopation of the pornographic genocide's language structure was clear in the arrangements of the organized team. Cinema was being used as a mirror of reality. Nobody in Pittsburgh, Rick Santorum never complained that Mancini had taken me, not wanting to go to Deep Throat, Devil and Mrs. Jones, after getting me horribly sick on Mogan David 2020 when I was 13 years old. Santorum, that's a regional norm. And after all, it was my father's children, not his own. He's a libertarian, you know. I don't have no idea what he would allow his children to be used for, but if the way he used my father's children is any measure. I mean, I don't see how Pittsburgh's provincial norm can escape the fact that I cried for my life in the principal's office before any of this got started. I mean, that was like the day that they gave me nitroglycerin. I mean, I was 11 years old when that happened. To swallow. So Maryland Chambers, DD is the Library of Congress classification for Nazi Germany. And of course, they correlate the shooting Martin Luther King to her birthday. Greg Carl referred to it as the initial encounter of the X motive, which was tainted by the shadow of the adversary, meaning Nikki DeBarno, who debauched her. And he's evidently the hero of the story for them. Ken was killed among sanitation workers, sanitary napkins, Maryland chambers, gas chambers. They have that peep cinema from filming the Holocaust. I mean, even books like Eyes on the Prize have the innuendo of what Scorsese set up with the Siciliani violinists and Minio's pizza crowd to help King Crimson through the awkward problem of my getting attention to the strange aspect of what happened between me and them. And the whole thing is dislocated by the fact that the script and people who they employed and worked with, which means that John Lennon is as described by the semiotics that began coming out in early cinema. They've been planning this all along, but John Lennon himself begins appearing in the semiotics in '66. The scriptwriter from Gibson Sean in Israel is on the cover likeness of a record of Lennon's friends in '79. So it's clearly a script about the truth, which is it was a Houdini. And so all of the cat calls that go on and things like being for the benefit of Mr. Kite, lasts you through the hogshead real fire. Blew his mind out in a car stuff. Zapped him right between the eyes stuff. Were actual cat calls about the Beatles' stagecraft theater of war. I don't consider Iran a hero of that story. I don't consider them a hero of what happened in Gaza. I mean, people should be protected from these incredible, disturbing, violent cults that somehow gain power because police decide to crack down on public information instead of helping people figure out how to proceed legally and against such acts. It's not like there's any dispute about right and wrong. The union organized the entrapment and used violence to give me nowhere else to go but into a girl's arms. And then they incubated it by waiting for it to sink in what had happened while committing murders to jack up the value of their snuff film. It's not like I did any of that. It's organized crime from the culture. I mean, Vince Irini uses Peter Shell's involvement in artificial intelligence to run experiments on little girls, hiding out in tents in Gaza. He considers himself a hero for this service to Pittsburgh Hebrew Academy. I mean, it's really sad, scary, weird people in Pittsburgh who can't admit the first word of truth about what was done to me. They can't. They refuse to admit a single word of truth about what was done to me. They refuse. And then they use Lenin to incite Seattle Africans and gays on me by calling me names and making me out to be the enemy of the people and stuff. It's a put on by the Beatles. They don't care about anybody. I mean, I'm just a cartoon to them. And they made me feel that. They made me feel like an object rather than a person. But when you look at Compromat, Oswald, we've long known, went to Russia. I mean, he went to the Carousel Club, went to Minx, didn't he? And it's not that Oswald was anything but the patsy he claimed, but he was being passed back and forth between the Carousel Club and Russia. And the indications are that the Russians knew about the script, that they were in on it with Reagan. That it was Andropov and Bush, the intelligence services. Braden could probably explain it in their Parlors of Snuff, which is a double entendre for them.